Okay, let's dive into something. April 14th, 2025, Blue Origin's NS-31 mission. It launched from West Texas.
Right.
And, you might just think, okay, another commercial space flight. Happens all the time now. Sort of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But this one definitely stood out from the crowd right away.
It really did. The thing that just jumps out is the crew. All 6 members were women.
Exactly. An all-female crew. That's pretty historic in the grand scheme of space travel.
It really is. It was Blue Origin's first human flight with only women on board. And when you look
Like
back...
with Valentina Tereshkova. Right?
Exactly. Way back in 1963, her solo flight. So you've got this huge gap, decades really, between these kinds of moments.
It puts it into perspective, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Just how significant that representation aspect is.
Totally. The simple fact they were all women, it sends a message.
Powerful.
Now, technically speaking, the flight itself was, well, pretty standard for Blue Origin's suborbital program, right?
Yeah, textbook new Shepard flight. Just over 10 minutes total duration.
They popped up past that 100-kilometer mark. The Kármán line.
Yep, the official edge of space.
Mm-hmm.
Got a few minutes of weightlessness in there.
And then the capsule came down under parachutes, landed safely. The booster did its usual autonomous landing thing.
Exactly. Tried and tested tech. Blue Origin's got that part down pretty solid.
So, like you said earlier, the real story here, the thing we want to kind of chew on today, isn't just the rocket science.
No, it's the why. Why this crew? What was the intention? What's the impact beyond the physics of it?
Exactly. That's the core of this deep dive. Not just that they went, but who went and what that might mean.
And this crew, Lauren Sanchez put it together, and it's quite the mix. Really diverse.
Very deliberately chosen, it seems. A real cross-section of fields.
Yeah, you get that feeling like they wanted to hit a lot of different notes, reach different audiences.
Okay, so let's quickly run through who is on board. First, you've got Katy Perry, global music superstar.
Right, Grammy nominee, massive following.
You can immediately see the angle there, can't you? Bringing space, maybe STEM, to a whole new group of fans, people who might not normally tune in.
It's an interesting strategy, isn't it? Using that kind of pop culture influence to, well, amplify the message of space exploration. It's smart.
Then Gayle King from CBS Mornings, a veteran
Generally
blogger.
hugely respected figure in broadcasting.
Yeah.
Brings that storytelling expertise, that ability to connect with, well, pretty much everyone.
Yeah, and a huge platform, too. Having her there gives it a certain weight, a journalistic lens on the experience.
Definitely. She can frame the narrative, make it relatable, share that human side of it beyond just the technical facts.
Okay, next, Aisha Bowe. Now, her background is directly relevant. Aerospace engineer.
And she worked at NASA, right?
Yeah.
Former contractor. Plus, she's CEO of STEM Board.
Exactly. So she brings that hardcore STEM credibility and, importantly, highlights diversity within STEM itself.
Yeah, her being there is powerful. A woman of color, successful engineer, entrepreneur. It's a very direct kind of role model. Shows what's possible.
Absolutely crucial. Then Amanda Nguyen, a civil rights activist, Nobel Peace Prize nominee even.
And involved in space policy, too, which is fascinating.
Right, and apparently she actually did some bioastronautics research during those few minutes of microgravity.
Wow, really? That's multitasking.
Isn't it? It shows how different fields can intersect up there. Activism, science, policy.
It really broadens the idea of who contributes to space, doesn't it? What kind of questions someone like her might ask in that environment.
Makes you wonder. Okay, then Carrie-Anne Flynn, a film producer and philanthropist.
Mm-hmm. Her angle seems to be more about the story we tell about space, shaping that cultural narrative.
Making sure it's inclusive, maybe, that the stories resonate widely.
Seems like it. Having a filmmaker involved suggests they were thinking very consciously about how this mission would be perceived and remembered, crafting the story.
And finally, Lauren Sanchez herself, journalist, pilot, vice chair of the Bezos Earth Fund, and the one who basically organized this whole thing.
Right. She was the driving force, the curator.
Yeah.
And she went up too.
It connects the flight directly to those bigger picture goals, like social impact, inspiration.
Her being both organizer and participant really underlines that commitment, I think. It's not just talk. She's actively involved.
So when you look at all 6, it's a really compelling group, doesn't it?
It feels very, very intentional, like you said, not just random seats on a rocket.
No, it feels like a statement, a curated message sent via suborbital spaceflight.
Exactly. The diversity feels like the point,
Mm-hmm.
broadening the horizon of who belongs in that picture.
And speaking of the picture, another detail that caught my eye, the flight suits.
Oh, yeah, that was interesting.
Not your standard NASA-style gear. Custom designs by Oscar de la Renta's designers, Fernando Garcia and Laura Kim.
In partnership with creative character engineering who do, like, movie costumes and stuff.
Right, so you've got high fashion meeting aerospace. That's unexpected.
It really is. It adds another layer entirely.
Yep.
It's fashion, function, innovation, but also, like, cultural messaging all rolled into one suit.
It makes it visually distinct, for sure. Maybe more approachable or interesting to people outside the usual space bubble?
Could be. It definitely challenges that purely utilitarian image we sometimes have of space travel. Suggests style and creativity have a place too.
It's another way they seem to be saying this is different.
A very visible way.
So putting it all together, the all-female crew, the incredible range of backgrounds, the curation, even the designer suits. It paints a picture, doesn't it?
It really does. A picture of a mission that was aiming for something more than just hitting 100 kilometers.
Yeah, the technical achievement, while obviously essential, feels almost like the stage.
But for the main act,
Mm-hmm.
which is the symbolism, the representation, the cultural impact, making space feel more inclusive, more relevant.
Which brings us neatly to what Blue Origin themselves said about it, their stated goal.
Right. They were pretty explicit. It was about inspiration.
Specifically inspiring a new generation and really focusing on showing diverse women from all sorts of fields participating, excelling. No.
In spaceflight. Yeah. Breaking down old ideas about who gets to go to space, redefining that image.
It taps into that bigger conversation happening in the space industry, doesn't it? About needing more diversity, broader engagement for it all to, well, succeed long term.
Absolutely. Moving beyond that sort of right stuff, astronaut mold is seen as pretty vital now. You need different perspectives, wider talent pools.
It feels like they're saying, look, it's not just test pilots and PhDs anymore, which obviously it hasn't been for a while, but this really drives it home.
Yeah, it opens the door wider, showing people in entertainment, media, activism alongside the engineer. It makes the whole idea of space potentially feel more attainable, maybe, more connected to different kinds of aspirations.
So yeah, definitely not just a joyride for some famous faces. It seems like a very calculated move.
A carefully constructed event designed to send a clear message about inclusion, about the future, about who gets inspired.
The interesting thing now is what happens next? What's the actual effect?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Will seeing these women, this particular group, actually spark something tangible? More girls pursuing STEM?
Or broader conversations about access, about equity and who gets to participate in this next era of space exploration.
Those are the conversations this kind of mission is clearly designed to provoke. It puts those questions right out there.
Which leads us to our final thought for everyone listening. When you consider this specific crew, Katie Carey, Gail King, Aisha Bowe, Amanda Nguyen, Carrie-Anne Flynn, Lauren Sanchez, and the mission's explicit aim,
That focus on inspiration and inclusion.
what specific impact do you think a flight like this might actually have? How might it genuinely shift perceptions about who belongs in space or who might be inspired to get involved in the future?
And maybe think about what kinds of conversations this could spark in different communities, different groups. Why might those conversations matter?
Yeah, lots to chew on there. Something beyond the booster landings and microgravity. Definitely food for thought.